phonics, fluency, and vocabulary are the planks of the reading bridge. Comprehension is the destination, understanding, connecting, and learning from what we read. Comprehension isn't a single skill. It's the integration of every other piece: accurate and fluent word reading, broad vocabulary, background knowledge, and an understanding of how sentences and paragraphs work together to build meaning. Here's what surprises many parents. Children with dyslexia often appear to be poor comprehenders, but in reality, their difficulties usually lie in decoding, accuracy, and reading fluency. When word-level skills are weak, the brain's energy is spent trying to figure out words rather than thinking about what those words mean. As Rose and Dalton noted, if word-level processes are not mastered, it's nearly impossible to carry out higher-order comprehension tasks. Before comprehension can bloom, decoding must be remediated. Think about trying to understand a story in a language you barely speak. You might recognize a few words, but you can't hold the meaning in your mind long enough to make sense of it. That's how reading feels for a child who struggles with decoding. Comprehension isn't always missing, sometimes it's just blocked. Once those word-level skills become automatic, comprehension can finally take center stage. Research shows that comprehension grows from both language and strategy. Strong readers weave together vocabulary, syntax, background knowledge, and metacognitive skills, thinking about thinking as they read. Good comprehension instruction starts simply with who and what questions, then moves on to when, where, and eventually why and how, thinking about the problem within the story. The questions like these are sparking critical thinking. Teachers build this understanding through modeling and discussion, setting the stage for meaning before reading even begins. Imagine a small group of fourth graders reading the book Because of Winn-Dixie. The teacher pauses and asks, "Why do you think Opal feels lonely here?" A student says, "Because she moved and doesn't know anyone." Another adds, "And the dog helped her make friends." They aren't just recalling details. They're connecting ideas, emotions, cause and effect. That's comprehension in action. Understanding what is said and what's meant. Teachers use approaches like collaborative strategic reading, reciprocal teaching, keyword outlines to help students preview, question, clarify, and summarize. These strategies make reading an active conversation rather than a quiet task. But it doesn't have to be complicated. They can simply ask all of those W questions as they're reading and teach the students to take note of what's really happening. Parents, if you're worried about your child having comprehension challenges, sometimes those signs can be really subtle, especially if your child reads fluently. They may sound strong when reading aloud, but still struggle to understand what they've read. Here's a few signs to look for. Your child can read the words, but they struggle to explain what they mean or what happened. They recall little details, but miss the main idea. They read aloud smoothly, but they can't summarize. They don't make connections between stories or topics. They rush through reading just to get it done, missing key ideas. They struggle to follow multi-step directions or word problems in math. They seem to zone out while reading. Their eyes move, but their mind drifts. If your child shows these signs, it doesn't mean they can't comprehend. It usually means their brain is still working hard on the earlier parts of the reading bridge: decoding, accuracy, fluency. Once those skills are supported, comprehension begins to grow naturally. To support comprehension at home, make reading a conversation every day. Preview the story together. Look at the cover. Guess what it might be about. Pause and ask questions like, "What's happening? What do you think will happen next?" Retell the story in your child's own words, or draw on what happened. First, next, last. Connect stories to real life. A family trip, a memory, something happening in the world today. Talk about feelings and motives. Why would the character make that choice? Write or draw summaries. Pictures help younger readers organize ideas. Comprehension isn't built in silence. It's built through conversation, curiosity, and connection. Comprehension is where everything comes together: sounds, words, meaning, and thought. It's where reading transforms from an academic task into a lifelong skill. When we strengthen each plank of the bridge, phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, and vocabulary, comprehension becomes possible. Every strong reader crosses that bridge one step at a time. Some run, Others move slowly, steadily, and supported. Our role is to walk beside them, celebrating each step, catching them when they slip, and reminding them that reading is more than decoding. It's about discovering ideas, understanding people, and seeing the world in new ways. That's the true destination of the Literacy Bridge. Not just reading words, but understanding life.